welcome to Soul Sparks with Saima, the space where courage meets consciousness. And today's guest is our amazing Laura Bratton, who is a living testament to resilience. Losing her sight at 9 didn't dim her vision, it expanded it. From Princeton to purpose, Laura has transformed adversity into empowerment through her book Harnessing Courage and her work with OB Global. And tonight we explore how to navigate life's deepest changes with strength, spirit, and gratitude. So, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're warmly welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here, Laura. So, change can feel, like both a loss and an invitation. So, can you share that when you first faced blindness, what helped you accept such a profound transformation?
So, what helped me was the support around me because I felt exactly what you were saying, the loss of the change. So, as I'm losing this major part of me, this major sense that obviously I was so dependent on growing up and just as a child and as a teenager, the loss was overwhelming. It brought incredible the grief process, the anxiety, the depression. So, what empowered me to move forward and, like you said, just to accept what is the new normal, it was the support around me. So, as I'm deep in anxiety and deep in depression and deeply grieving, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think there was a future. And the gift was, it was the support around me. And I would love to give just tangible, practical examples of what I mean about that support.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just my support system around me saying, "Oh, Laura, we believe in you. You can do this." Because honestly, I wouldn't have listened to them. I wouldn't have believed them. What they did was they modeled that in their behavior. So it was my parents who said, yes, the future is overwhelming. Yes, the future is uncertain. So all we have to do is take it day by day, minute by minute, moment by moment. So that taught me to live in the present moment and to literally just have my energy and my focus on the present moment rather than being so overwhelmed by the magnitude of the future. So that's a tangible, practical example of what I mean about that belief and support in me. That's what empowered me to move forward and to embrace my new normal.
That's so powerful, Laura. And the way you're describing surrounded by people who modeled acceptance rather than, just talked about it, it sounds like their presence really gave you permission to find your own footing in that new reality rather than feeling pressure to be okay right away. And I imagine that kind of modeling made a big difference in how you navigated those first moments or years. So was acceptance something that came to you right away, or did it unfold more slowly?
It unfold I combined my words, so I gotta slow down talking. It unfolded very slowly. So there wasn't one big moment where I said, "Okay, I accept this blindness." It was definitely through a series of events, and just as you said, their actions gave me permission. They gave me permission that, "Oh, they believe in me," so it's almost like that gave me permission to move through the anxiety, through the depression. So, as I received support from my parents, from my brother, from teachers, from friends, just from the community, that gave me the permission to slowly regain my confidence and slowly believe in myself. And I do want to share one experience that I vividly remember that was a pivotal moment in that acceptance just in my new normal. So, in between high school and college, I got my first guide dog. And on the day that we were receiving, each of us were receiving our new guide dog. We just had lunch. It was right after lunch, and we went back to our dorm room and we were waiting for them to bring our guide dog, introduce us to the new dog. I was sitting on a bed. I was 3,000 miles away from home, far from family, from friends, from community, any sense of support or normalcy as far as like local support. And what I felt, I vividly remember sitting there on that bed was, okay, now is the time. Am I going to? I've had this incredible, great support. Here I am getting ready to receive my first guide dog. It's time for me to choose. Am I going to choose and accept and embrace now what is? Or am I just going to be stuck and overwhelmed and shut down by the magnitude of the loss? And so I share that story to say it was a lot of moments that led up to that one pivotal moment. Yet once I had that thought and made that decision, I want to make it very, very clear. It was not all easy and perfect and smooth after that. I still every single day had to choose to accept myself and to embrace the new normal.
Mhm. That makes so much sense, Laura. And I really appreciate how honestly you described that because, so often we like to imagine acceptance as a single defining moment when in reality it's more like a series of small choices and events and realizations that build over time. And the way you frame it as something that unfolded through different experiences and series, like you said, really highlights the depth of your resilience and self awareness, I would say.
Yes. And I also, you made me, that, thank you for saying that because you made me think of one more was point that I definitely want to make that from my experience, it was a series of events and it was not linear. So again, that day receiving my guide dog from then on, it wasn't like happy go lucky. Oh, I always believed myself, accept this new normal. Mm. There were 2 days when I did, and then 3 days when I said, oh, this is terrible. I'm giving up. So it was a constant back and forth. So, yes, it was a series of events and it was a continual growth process, not just a linear, oh, life is all good and smooth now. So, thank you for saying that to make me think of that.
Absolutely, that one is just liberating for sure. Now, you often speak about greed and gratitude. So, can you share that how do those two qualities work together when everything feels uncertain?
Yes. So I wanted how talk about how I define both of them and then how they work together. The way that I define grit and what I've learned within myself and working with others, grit is having the ability to acknowledge and validate what we're feeling and then choose to move towards our goal. So for me, that long term goal was living life in a sighted world without sight. So within that huge, large goal, there's small goals every single day of just living moment to moment, day by day. So the grit again looks like I'm going to go back to that same example, the guide dog. It looks like saying, I know I want to see this guide dog, but I'm still hesitant. I don't know. Is this 60-pound black lab really going to be my eyes? There's still that doubt. Yet the grit is feeling that doubt, validating that doubt, and then choosing to still move forward. The way I define gratitude is realizing and being appreciative and thankful for what we have in the midst of difficulty, in the midst of our everyday life. So I want to make it clear the way I define gratitude is not just being happy and cheerful all the time and positive and saying thank you all day long. Rather, it's being grateful and appreciative for what helps us navigate through life, through the good days, through the bad days, through just the everyday life experiences. So, again, using that example of getting the guide dog, I had a choice of, again, acknowledging the grit. Yeah, this is hard. This is uncertain. Is this dog really going to be my eyes? And I'm grateful to have this opportunity. I'm grateful for this guide dog that I'm being provided. I'm grateful for the training that went in so I could have this guide dog. So again, the grit and the gratitude work so well together because the grit allows us to acknowledge the hard, to choose to move forward, and then the gratitude balances out that with being grateful and cultivating that grateful for mindset even in the hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really wonderful, like you explained. And you have put it in a beautiful way. I really love how you describe grit not as just pushing through, but as that, quiet determination to keep moving forward even when the path isn't visible, like you explained. And your take on gratitude feels really grounded, Laura. It's not about ignoring the pain, but about finding meaning within it. And that perspective really reframes what resilience looks like.
Yes, and that is such a strong point that you bring up because gratitude is not minimizing the pain. Gratitude is not ignoring the pain. It's not saying, "Oh, I just have to be happy for this pain." It's 100% not. What it is acknowledging what we have within the pain, what helps us get through the pain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, as we are building into that, it makes me wonder that can gratitude coexist with grief, or do we feel we need to heal first before we can truly feel grateful?
Question. I struggle with this question for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to share a story, a very practical situation that helped me circle back to what you said. It gave me that permission to do both. So for a long time, I thought exactly what you said. We grieve, that's complete, and then we're grateful, right? Like we do one and then the other. We can't do both at the same time until one powerful conversation changed my perspective and again gave me permission, exactly what you said in the beginning. So it was right before I was starting college. It was a week before I started college, and I was in an administrator's office. And it was the end of the meeting, and I was getting up to leave. And she said, "Laura, before you go, I just want to let you know that you will grieve for the rest of your life. No, it's not intense as you did and went through in high school initially, but there will always be that sense of loss of what you're actively losing and what the vision that you no longer have." And she literally said, "Permission. I want to give you permission that you can grieve and move forward at the same time. That grieving is not a weakness. Grieving does not mean you have accepted your blindness. Grieving is a part of our life experience." So I share that story to say from that day it gave me permission to grieve and to be grateful. That it's not one or the other, but they perfectly complement each other. And the gratitude helps us in the grieving process. And the grieving grounds us in reality because go through major loss and adversity that calls us to deeply grieve. And that's not a weakness or that's not wrong. It just is part of our human experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's so true. And I mean, that's a profound perspective. I really, like how you frame grief not as something to move past, but as something that belongs in our life experience, like you explained, almost like it opens space for deeper gratitude. And the idea of giving ourselves that permission to grieve feels so powerful because, it honors the full spectrum of being human rather than trying to keep straight to healing.
100%. It's a part of our human experience. And grief is not just a death of a human. Grief is any loss that we experience in our life, the loss of relationship, the loss of job, an illness that we receive. Maybe it's acute or chronic. It's any type of loss that we go through in life creates that grieving process. And again, that doesn't mean we're not a resilient human or that doesn't mean we're not a courageous human. It's just part of our lived experience.
Absolutely. And I do feel that paradox between pain and appreciation, is the key to emotional maturity. Yes. Now, mhm, faith clearly plays a big role in your story, Laura. So, how has spirituality shaped the way you navigate change?
So it has played such a deeply healing part in my story, my life experience, what I do professionally, because what I've learned is that spirituality is not something we do, it's a connection we have. So, again, in my personal experience, what I've learned is that spiritual connection that, yes, I am blind. Yes, I've lost my sight. And that spirit, that connection to spirit is not less than because I can't see. That unconditional connection, love, grace is not different because I can't see. It's there regardless of the circumstances. So spirituality has been a healing force. And it also has reminded me in the time of loss and living with constant loss, I'm still worthy. I'm still a human. I'm still enough. I still have value and meaning and purpose to give to the world. So that's something that I want to share and empower each person listening to know that in change, it's overwhelming, it's scary, it's uncertain. And yet that gift of spirituality is there to ground us and to remind us we still matter. We are still worthy, regardless of our circumstances.
Mm-hmm. That's such a powerful reflection. And the way you speak about faith, not as something distant, but as a living part of how we meet change, really, captures its depth in your story. And it sounds like spirituality has been both an anchor and a compass, helping you steady yourself while still moving forward. So, as we enter this, I'm really curious to know that do you think that faith is something that grows in struggle or something we return to when we have exhausted control?
Both. In my experience, it very much has been both. And the reason I say that is again from my lived experience. At first, in my mind, I was fighting spirituality. Like, oh, I don't need that. Oh, no, I'm good on my own, right? Like I can do this all by myself. I'm good. It was almost like it felt like a weakness if I felt I needed spirituality or if I leaned into it. But yet I realized it's exactly what you said. It's that anchor. It's the anchor that anchors us in all of life, in the good, in the bad, in the adversity, in the difficulty. So yeah, the gift of spirituality is for a lot of us, for a lot of people I work with, it's like we resist it until we're so desperate we have to have it. So and but at the same time, it's that deep, deep anchor that grounds us, that gives us that strength and that foundation when we feel like everything in our world is changing or difficult.
I really like how you hold space for both, like that faith can grow through the struggle while also being something we return to when everything else falls away. And that's such a grounded perspective. It's such a beautiful reminder that faith isn't fixed, it evolves with us, deepening as we live through more of life's uncertainty.
Right. And it's also just like the confidence when we were talking about the grit and gratitude, faith is not linear. So our spiritual experience is not, for example, we return to it one day and the next day we might say, oh, I don't need this, right? Or I'm good. I don't need this anymore. Yet it's a constant, what you said, it's a constant growing process. It's not a fixed situation, but we're constantly growing in our spirituality. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up to make me think it's not linear, it's not a smooth healing process.
Yes, that of surrender, feels like a universal lesson, no matter what form our blindness takes.
Yes. Yes.
hmm Now, you founded Ubi Global to empower others facing obstacles. So, can you share that what's the most powerful transformation you have witnessed and someone you have guided?
Yeah. So An overall theme, I'll give one specific example, but the overall theme that I found with people is when they come to me and they're experiencing some type of major change, whether that's injury or illness or job loss or something that shifts their entire being as they know the world has got to change, is the fear. The fear of, am I enough? Again, like I was saying, do I have value? And just what is the future? Deeply fearing that future of this is too overwhelming. And so, one specific story I want to share to illustrate that is an athlete that I was working with that had a significant injury. And it took her about a year to get back on the field to recover from the injury. So during that time, we're working on just her mental perspective as she's healing physically, having her heal emotionally and mentally as well. So when she was physically able to get back on the field, the fear was, what if it happens again? I'm anxious that it's going to happen. It's going to happen again, and I'm going to go through the injury again. And what I guided her through and coached her through was validate that feeling. That's a real feeling because of the intense pain you've been through this past year. Validate that feeling and then still choose to get back on the field, play by play, moment by moment. So her initial thought was, I'm fearful to get back on the field, but I can't be fearful. I can't acknowledge the fear because then if I acknowledge it, it might actually happen. So she was feeling fearful, but didn't want, felt it was wrong to feel fear. And what I helped her process and work through, and what she eventually did was acknowledge the fear, acknowledge that that's a valid, real emotion and feeling, and then choose to still move forward. And and now she was able to, with confidence over time through process, just work back to being where she wanted to be. And I tell that story specifically about her, but that theme of fear and acknowledging our fear is what I experience in most people and help guide them through.
Hmm. The way you describe the transformation, Laura, really captures the heart of what empowerment looks like. And not just helping someone overcome a challenge, but watching them step into their own strength and purpose. It must be so rewarding to see that kind of shift happen, knowing you played a part in creating that space for growth. And that's really incredible, Laura. You showed us that change isn't the end, it's a deeper beginning. And you also showed us that life's hardest shifts often reveal our truest vision. So, to everyone listening out there, embrace your next change with courage, gratitude, and faith that something greater is unfolding within you.